I'm Evan Park, and I will be reading St. Thomas Becket from the book Stories of the Saints, written by Carrie Wallace and illustrated by Nick Thornborough. King Henry was just 21 when he became king. Thomas worked for him, organizing the king's affairs and fighting for the king's rights. He was young like Henry, and he loved to wear fine clothes, throw huge parties, and have any fun he could find. So the two of them became close friends. They hunted in corrals together. Henry sent his own son to live with Thomas's family, and Thomas served as a soldier under Henry when Henry went to war. Thomas even began to travel like royalty himself. When Henry sent him to meet the French king in Paris, Thomas took 200 men, 8 wagons, musicians, hunting birds and dogs, and even a monkey. If this is the ambassador, the people of Paris asked each other, what is a king like? But everything changed when the Archbishop of Canterbury died. King Henry was tired of wrangling with the powerful church, but if Thomas was Archbishop, he thought, he would have a friend in the church instead of a rival. I'm going to make you Archbishop, he told Thomas. Then you can take charge of everything in England for me, including the church. You won't like it if you make me Archbishop, Thomas told him, because then I'll have to serve God and not the king. Thomas had been such a good friend to Henry and served him so well that Henry couldn't believe this. So he appointed Thomas Archbishop of Canterbury. But as soon as Thomas took his vows, he stopped wearing all his fine clothes, put on plain black robes, and gave away almost all his fortune. Suddenly he spent all his time reading the Bible, praying, and visiting the sick. Instead of attending to the king's affairs, he started putting the affairs of the church in order. And when Henry wanted to put an English priest on trial in an English court, Thomas wouldn't let him. A priest's fate belongs to the church, Thomas said, not to the king. Henry was furious. He called together all the most important men in the Church of England and tried to get Thomas to sign a document giving Henry power over the church. But Thomas refused and fled to France. For 2 years, Thomas lived in a French abbey under the protection of the French king, Louis VII. While back at home, Henry banished Thomas' friends and relatives and confiscated their land. Finally, Thomas offered to return in hopes of making peace with the king. When he arrived in England, cheering crowds lined the streets to welcome him, and every bell rang. But nothing had really changed. Henry still wanted to have power over the church, and Thomas still insisted that it was God who ruled the king and not the other way around. One day when King Henry was fuming about his troubles with Thomas, he bellowed, "Who will rid me of this troublesome priest?" 4 of the king's knights were standing nearby. "Did you hear that?" one of them asked. "The king wants Thomas dead. What kind of reward do you think he'll give us if we do it?" The 4 of them galloped off to Canterbury. They found Thomas in the cathedral while all the monks were singing their evening songs. By the stairs to the chapel crypt, they caught him and knocked him down. "For the sake of Jesus and the church, I am willing to embrace death," Thomas told them. Then one of the knights struck him a death blow. But when the knights went back to Henry with the news that Thomas was dead, Henry was grieved. "I was angry," he said, "but I never ordered anyone to kill my friend." The knights were excommunicated from the church and had to go serve in the Holy Lands. And the people of England were so outraged by Thomas's death that King Henry, the proudest man in England, had to publicly beg God to forgive him at Thomas's tomb. The end.